In the quiet between night and dawn, a tale rises. Come hear it unfold. Sit closer to the fire. Let its warmth touch your bones, and let the night wind carry this story into your heart. What I tell you is older than the footprints surround this circle, older than the dust clinging to your feet after a long day. Though it may sound like a folk tale, everything in it happened to a young man whose only inheritance was courage. His name was Karu, a child born under the shade of hardship, raised by the stubbornness of hope, and carried by the strength of a spirit that refused to break. Karu's village, Olamana, sat where the savannah stretched its wide arms, where rains came only when the sky remembered mercy, and where every family learned early that life was a field to cultivate with both hands. The village breathed with the rhythm of seasons, harvests, hunts, festivals, and disputes settled under the talking tree. But for Karu, life did not begin with a mother's stories or a father's guiding hand. He arrived into the world like a dropped seed, left on a path where anything could trample it. No one knew his father. His mother, Dana, carried quiet sadness in her eyes, a sadness no one asked about, because in Olamana, sorrow was handled privately, like a thorn removed in solitude. Dana did her best to raise Karu with dignity, though she owned nothing but a small clay hut and the hands she used to weave mats for the market. But hardship, like drought, does not warn before it arrives. One year, when Karu was still small enough to ride on his mother's back, an illness swept through Olamana. Nothing mystical, no curse, no spirits, just the kind of sickness that comes with bad water and a tired body. It took Dana in 3 days. One moment she was weaving a mat under the neem tree. The next, she was lying still, surrounded by neighbors who whispered prayers and condolences. Karu became the boy with no family, raised by the village, yet belonging to no one. Children teased him, adults pitied him, elders watched him with curiosity. But Karu grew like a stubborn tree, thin at first, fragile in the wind, yet determined to rise. He learned early that tears do not till the soil, and pity does not fill an empty stomach. So, he swept compounds for food, carried water for those who didn't feel like walking to the river, and followed hunters to gather the gourds and arrows they forgot. Every night he slept in a corner of the communal granary, curled like a stray dog, dreaming of a day when he would become someone whose name carried weight, someone who would not be brushed aside by life's unforgiving hands. But dreams alone were not enough. Dreams, as the elders say, are seeds. They need work to grow roots. So listen well now, for the road ahead is long, filled with trials, choices, betrayals, and triumphs earned through sweat. Years passed. Karu became a teenager, tall and wiry, with arms shaped by labor and legs hardened by long walks across the savannah. He was quiet, observant, and carried a look in his eyes that made people wonder whether he saw more than he said. Though he had no parents, one person noticed something in him that others overlooked: old Keme, the village's most respected elder. Keme was a man whose face bore the map of many seasons, whose words could settle disputes that fists could not. He had been watching Karu since the boy lost his mother. One afternoon, as Karu helped repair the old man's fence, Keme said without looking up, "You work like one who carries a secret fire." Karu didn't know what that meant, but he held the words close. The old man continued, "Fire can warm or burn. How it grows depends on the one tending it. You must learn to control yours." Karu didn't reply. He only tightened the rope binding two sticks together. But inside him, something stirred. From that day, Keme began calling Karu for small tasks, sorting grains, chopping wood, organizing calabashes. Through these moments, he taught Karu what others never bothered to teach: patience, discipline, observation, listening before speaking, and the art of understanding the hearts of men. Success, he told him once, does not follow strength, it follows clarity. A leader must see beyond the dust storms others run from. But life, child, does not hand wisdom freely. It tests you to see whether you deserve it. The test came sooner than Karu expected. Olamana's greatest resource was its farmland, stretching towards the river plains. Every family relied on it, but for years rains had been unpredictable and harvests grew smaller. By the time Karu turned 16, a conflict simmered between Olamana and the neighboring village Todorin over a stretch of land that both claimed. There was nothing mystical about it, just the hunger of two communities trying to survive.
One morning, a messenger from Todorin arrived with a warning. Their people would now cultivate the disputed land. Olamana refused. Tension grew. Elders of both villages met, yet neither yielded. And when pride enters a dispute, peace becomes a wounded bird. One hot afternoon, while Karu carried water back from the river, he heard angry shouts. By the time he reached the open plain, he saw a group of Todorin farmers confronting Olamana youths. The dispute escalated fast. Pushing, shouting, threats. Karu arrived just as an Olamana boy threw a stone that struck a Todorin man on the shoulder. Chaos followed. The men charged. Fists flew. Dust rose. Karu froze for one moment, then ran toward two boys from his village who were being cornered. He grabbed a stick, not to harm, but to block a blow aimed at one of them. As he shielded the younger boy, a Todorin man slammed into him, knocking him to the ground. Karu tasted dust and blood, but he rose again, dragging the younger boy away from the brawl and yelling for everyone to retreat. His voice cracked through the chaos like thunder on dry earth. Some boys listened, others hesitated, but when they saw Karu, thin yet unbroken, standing between two groups of furious men, they slowly backed away. The fight ended without deaths, but wounds ran deep. That night, Olamana gathered under the talking tree. Anger churned through the crowd like a pot of boiling yam. Many wanted retaliation. Others demanded the land at all costs. But old Keme raised his staff, and silence fell. "Who among you," the elder said, "thinks fire can be answered with more fire?" No one spoke. Keme turned to Karu. "You were there. Tell them what you saw." The boy swallowed. All eyes fell on him. He hesitated, then spoke with steady calm. "I saw fear in both sides. Hunger drove them. Pride fueled them. If we fight, both villages will bleed. The land cannot feed the dead." Murmurs spread. One man asks sharply, "And who are you to speak?" Karu is no one, and that is why you must listen. Those who have nothing see clearly. They are not blinded by ownership. Karu's words did not end the dispute, but they planted a seed. From that day, the village began to respect him, not as a leader, but as someone who could see beyond anger. Yet respect does not fill the stomach. Karu still lived on odd jobs, still slept in borrowed corners. His dream of building a life strong enough to withstand the storms of fate remained distant. But destiny has a way of calling you when you least expect it. One evening,
A council of elders from both villages announced a daring plan. A joint farming expedition into the forest region beyond the plains, where fertile land was said to lie unused. It was no myth, just unexplored ground avoided because of its difficult terrain and wild animals. The journey would require strength, courage, negotiation, endurance, and the willingness to risk everything. Only a handful of men were chosen. 2 elders, 3 seasoned farmers, 1 hunter, and to the shock of many, Karu. When the announcement was made, the village buzzed with disbelief. "He is too young," some whispered. "He is too ruthless," others muttered. But Kene only smiled. A seed grows where it is planted. Sometimes it grows stronger in the harshest soil. Karu accepted, not because he felt ready, but because he knew opportunity seldom knocks twice. The next morning, before dawn painted the horizon, the group set off. They carried nothing but their knowledge, machetes, ropes, dried food, and a will to survive the unknown path before them. The savannah stretched wide, with golden grasses whispering in the wind. Birds overhead traced arcs in the sky, and distant antelopes scattered like shadows. The air smelled of dust, acacia trees, and the promise of adventure. But the road was not simple. On the 5th day, the group reached the dense forest belt, a place where tall trees blocked the sun and where every rustle demanded caution. There were no spirits here, no magical beings, only real dangers: snakes, boars, insects, and the thick undergrowth that resisted every step. As they trekked deeper, Karu began noticing details others missed: animal tracks, water sources, signs of soil fertility. His observations saved them time, prevented them from walking into a cluster of thorns, and once alerted them to the presence of a territorial boar before it charged. The men began to look at him differently. But success does not come without trials.
10 days into the journey, they discovered a wide stretch of untouched fertile soil by the river. The sight filled them with relief. Dark earth, rich moisture, open fields. It was everything they hoped for. But there was a problem. Not far from the site, the group found signs of another settlement. Not Todorin, not Olamana, but a small group of migrant farmers who had taken refuge in the forest after escaping drought several years earlier. Their homes were simple huts, their tools worn, their diet meager, but they were surviving. The discovery divided the group immediately. "We must claim the land," said one elder. "We came first." "No," said another. "This land belongs to them already. They have built homes. It is too much trouble to negotiate. We have no time to argue." Tension simmered. Voices rose. Karu stepped back, observing. His heart pounded as he watched grown men circle the edge of conflict once more. The following morning, they approached the migrant settlement cautiously. The people reacted with fear and suspicion, holding their hoes and sticks defensively. Karu saw their trembling hands, their thin children, the weariness in their eyes. It reminded himself, alone, unwanted, trying to survive. A man stepped forward. "What do you want?" An elder from their group replied, "We come in peace. We seek farmland. This land belongs to Olamana and Todorin." The migrant leader's face hardened. "This land belongs to the ones who bled for it. We buried our dead here. We have nowhere else." Both sides braced for conflict. Before words could escalate, Karu stepped forward. He raised his hands calmly. "We are not here to take your livelihood. We are here because our villages are starving. Let us speak as humans, not enemies."
The migrant leader narrowed his eyes. "And who are you to speak for anyone?" Karu took a long breath. "I am one who knows hunger, one who knows what it means to have nothing, one who seeks a path where we all survive." His voice carried the weight of truth. The migrants listened. Karu proposed a plan: shared farming, rotational land use, exchange of harvests, joint cultivation near the river, and mutual protection. No side owned the land alone. Everyone had a place. The negotiations lasted hours, filled with doubt, suspicion, and heated words. But Karu's calm persistence, his ability to see both sides, and his refusal to let pride dominate the talks, carried the talks forward. By sunset, an agreement was signed, with handshakes and promises. The expedition succeeded. But the journey home was where Karu's true test awaited. On the way back, one of the elders, jealous of the respect Karu had earned, began sowing seeds of resentment among the group. He whispered to others, "Do you not see? The boy seeks power. Soon the village will listen to him more than us. Are we fools to let a rootless youth overshadow us?" Envy is a snake, silent, smooth, deadly. One night, as they camped near the plains, the jealous elder tried to frame Karu, claiming the boy had hidden part of the food supply for himself. The group turned in confusion. Some doubted, others remained silent, but Karu stood firm. "If I am a thief, let the person searching for guilt look into his own heart." The men searched the supplies. Nothing was missing. The elder's lie was exposed. The hunter of the group, a man known for fairness, seized the elder by the arm and said, "A man who lies in the wilderness endangers everyone." Humiliation fell on the elder like dust after a long wind. He apologized grudgingly, but resentment still burned within him. When the group reached Olamana, villagers gathered to hear their report. Karu stood beside the elders as they spoke of the journey, the fertile land, the new alliance, and the hope for abundant harvests. But when villagers asked who led the negotiations, the elders hesitated. Pride is heavier than stone. Some remained silent, others claimed credit, but old Keme stepped forward and spoke clearly. "It was Karu, the boy you all once saw as a stray. Without him, we would have returned with empty hands." The crowd murmured in surprise. Karu, overwhelmed, bowed his head. Keme continued, "The strength of a man is not in his origins, but in the choices he makes." The jealous elder clenched his jaw, but said nothing.
From that day, Olamana's view of Karu changed. People greeted him with respect. Parents asked him to train their sons in discipline and endurance. The village head invited him to observe council meetings. But success attracts shadows. Todorin, upon hearing that Karu played a key role in forming the alliance, began to view him with both interest and suspicion. Their leaders asked him to help mediate further disputes. Some in Olamana accused him of being too close to the neighboring village. And the jealous elder continued stirring resentment, warning that Karu was becoming too influential. The village divided into those who supported him and those who feared his rise. Karu felt pressure from all sides, but he refused to chase power. Instead, he chased purpose. With permission from the village head, he led youths to cultivate the newly shared farmland. He trained them to work with efficiency, discipline, and unity. He shared farming techniques he had learned,
strategies for water conservation, and ways to maximize harvests even with unpredictable rains. The first joint harvest was abundant beyond expectations. Villagers celebrated. But storms have a habit of gathering when skies seem clear. One afternoon, while Karu inspected the fields near the river, he heard frantic shouts. A child from the migrant settlement had fallen into the fast-moving waters while fetching water. Panic erupted. Without thinking, Karu sprinted toward the river bank. He saw the child's head bobbing above the water, pulled by the current. He grabbed the rope, tied it around his waist, shouted for someone to hold the other end, and leapt into the river. The water was cold, violent, and unforgiving. It dragged at him like hands trying to pull him under. But he fought through, reached the child, and wrapped one arm around him. "Pull!" Karu gasped. The men on the shore heaved. The rope tightened, but the current was too strong. Karu felt himself slipping. Then another rope landed nearby. Todorin youths had arrived and were helping. Together, all three groups hauled Karu and the child out of the river. Karu collapsed onto the grass, exhausted but alive. The child's mother wept in gratitude. That night, a fire was lit by the river. People from all three communities gathered, sharing food, laughter, and relief. For the first time, they felt like one community, not separate villages divided by soil and pride. But remember this, child. Whenever a new unity forms, old divisions resist. The jealous elder saw how the people now loved Karu, how they looked at him as a leader, a protector, a symbol of hope. His envy grew until it clouded all reason. He went to some men in the village and whispered, "He wants to be chief. Soon he will rule you. Is that what you want? A boy with no lineage leading you?" Fear and suspicion spread like dry grass catching fire. One night, Karu was summoned to the council. The jealous elder accused him openly. "This boy seeks to control our farmland. He has charmed the other villages. He hides ambition behind humility. He must be watched." Karu felt a sickness in his stomach, but he did not argue. Instead, he looked at the council and said, "If helping my people makes me appear ambitious, then I will bear that burden. But I have never asked for power, only opportunity to serve." Old Keme rose slowly. A man who leads without seeking leadership is one we should trust, not fear. But the council was divided. So they delivered a verdict. Karu would step away from leading the youths for a season, giving space for others. The boy accepted calmly, though inside he felt like a tree uprooted. Yet instead of withdrawing, Karu worked in silence, repairing wells, helping elderly farmers, teaching children work ethics. He became even more respected. People whispered, "Even when he is pushed down, he rises." Success, child, is not the absence of hardship. It is the refusal to surrender. Months passed. As new rains approached, tragedy struck. A massive flood, caused by heavy rainfall upstream, swept across the shared farmland. Crops, huts, tools, and livestock were swallowed. Panic spread as families lost everything. Villages blamed each other. "Your people did not build proper dikes. You planted too close to the river. You neglected the warning signs." Chaos erupted. The jealous elder used the opportunity to inflame hatred. "We made a mistake joining with those outsiders. Look what has happened." The fragile unity crumbled.
Arguments turned to threats. Men took up sticks. The migrant settlement braced for attack. Todorin sent their strongest youths to defend them. Olamana elders struggled to calm their people. And in the midst of the storm of anger, Karu stepped forth. He climbed a high rock overlooking the farmland, raised both arms and shouted, "Stop!" The command boomed across a plains. Hundreds paused. Karu's voice carried raw emotion. Have we learned nothing? Disaster is not caused by unity, it is caused by nature. The river does not choose whose crops to destroy. The flood does not know the name of your tribe. Will we fight because the sky sent water? Silence. He pointed to the devastation. Look around you. Does anger rebuild farms? Does blame restore lost food? If we break now, next season we starve. Men lowered their sticks. Karu continued, voice trembling but strong. We must rebuild the land together, build stronger banks, create new irrigation paths, work as one, not enemies. An old woman cried, "The boy is right." A Todoran man nodded, "He speaks with sense." The migrant leader said softly, "We follow his guidance." Only the jealous elder remained stiff, but the majority had already shifted. Just like that, the three communities united again, not through formal agreements, not through elders' orders, but through shared survival and Karu's wisdom. Rebuilding began. They worked day and night. They worked day and night constructing strong riverbanks, digging new trenches, lifting fallen huts, planting fresh seeds. Karu organized teams, delegated tasks, and encouraged exhausted workers. His leadership, natural, unforced, became undeniable. Finally, after months of relentless work, the land began to recover. As harvest season approached, the crops grew tall and green, stronger than before. During the celebratory feast, people gathered from all three communities. They blessed the land, shared food, danced and sang. Then something unexpected happened. The village head of Olamana stood before the crowd and declared, "In our history, leaders were chosen by lineage, but today we choose by merit. Let it be known, when I retire, Karu will guide this community." Gasps erupted. Some cheered. Some watched quietly. The jealous elder trembled with rage, but even he could not deny what everyone witnessed. Karu, stunned, stepped forward. "I do not seek leadership." The village head smiled. "That is why you deserve it." The people chanted his name, softly at first, then stronger, carried by the wind. Karu felt tears prick his eyes. Not tears of pride, tears of gratitude. He looked at the three communities, once divided, now united by hardship and shared labor. He saw children playing together, men exchanging jokes, women preparing food, elders smiling at the new unity. And Karu realized the truth. Success is not a position. Success is not recognition. Success is the journey of creating impact through integrity, courage, and service. He had walked the long road from a rootless boy to a respected leader, not through inheritance or luck, but through perseverance, clarity, and compassion. Years later, people would tell children under the moonlight,
There was once a boy with no father, no mother, no land, and no name, yet he grew into the man who united 3 communities. He taught us that greatness comes not from where you begin, but from the choices you make each day. And the wind would carry the lesson forward. As I finish, remember the fire burning before you. It began from a small spark, just like Karu, just like you.